Brent leaned on the server rack like it was his dorm room futon and cracked open a Red Bull. He took a slow sip, smirked at me, and said, "You should head home, man. I've got it from here." I didn't move. He said it again, waving that stupid can like he built the infrastructure himself. "Seriously, you've been here all day. Go chill." Right, like I was just loitering. Like I hadn't spent the last 7 years keeping this whole system breathing. My name's Marcus Hale. I'm 38. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. And up until last month, I was the guy Clay, the CTO, called at 3 in the morning when the back end caught fire. Now, I'm just senior system specialist, which is a long way of saying I'm the janitor of their digital mess. Brent, he's 27, came from some fintech startup in Austin, and just got promoted to lead engineer after barely 6 months here. I watched Clay walk him into the boardroom 2 days ago, holding a thumb drive that had my server architecture diagram on it, labeled and color-coded by me. He pointed like it was his vision. Brent nodded like it was his. That's when it hit me. They weren't promoting Brent because he was brilliant. They were promoting him because he looked brilliant. Talks fast, wears the right sneakers, throws around phrases like cloud agnostic and zero trust pipeline, like he invented the damn internet. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I stayed quiet. Brent swaggered off to the incident review meeting with Clay and the rest of the suits. Meanwhile, I kept typing because someone still had to fix the legacy server nobody else understood. System uptime was bleeding out, and they were too busy patting each other on the back to notice. The error log was a mess of corrupted pointers and outdated dependencies. I traced the fault line in 5 minutes flat, deployed a patch, and left a one-liner in the commit notes. Hotfix. Maybe don't ignore the readmemorons.txt next time. Nobody would catch it unless they were actually reading the repo history, which, let's be real, nobody was. I walked past the glass conference room as Brent held up my diagram and said something about streamline redundancy failover. Clay nodded like a proud dad. The man hadn't written code since Obama's first term, but now he was tossing around jargon he probably Googled that morning. I didn't wait for them to finish. I just grabbed my bag and left. But not before killing the Red Bull. Brent left on my desk, still cold. Too bad he never earned it. Next morning, I was halfway through my coffee when Clay popped his head into the bullpen like a middle school principal doing rounds. "Marcus," he said, too cheerful, "got a few minutes? Just a quick check-in." He motioned toward the glass conference room, what we called the fishbowl. Nothing about that room was quick or casual. It was where people went in with a badge and came out without one. I followed him in, sat across from him, and he did that thing where he smiled before speaking, like what he was about to say should feel like a compliment. "So," he started, folding his hands like he was pitching a TED Talk, "you've done really solid work over the years. Seriously, rock steady." I didn't respond, just let him talk. "But," he said, drawing it out like it hurt, "I think you've kind of peaked, which is fine. It happens. Not everyone needs to keep climbing." There it was. Clay leaned back in his chair like he expected applause for phrasing it gently. "We're restructuring a bit, making space for digital natives, new perspectives. You've got a ton of experience, and I think the best way forward is you help transition some of that tribal knowledge over to the newer team." He used air quotes around tribal knowledge. I kept my eyes on him. I didn't say a word. Right on cue, Brent walked by the fishbowl, slow enough to make sure I saw him. He winked like this was a sitcom, and he just nailed the punchline. Clay kept talking. "No change to your title for now," he said, like that was a favor. "But let's use the next few weeks to hand off what you can. You've been a great mentor, and I know the team will really appreciate your support. No mention of severance, no mention of offboarding, just a vague suggestion that I go quietly and help the guy who just took my job." I nodded once, got up, didn't shake his hand. I walked straight to my desk and opened my terminal. Brent was parked in my chair, spinning side to side, eating the trail mix I kept in the drawer, feet up on the desk, like he'd lived there for years. "Yo," he said, mouth half full. "You know how DNS actually works? Like, under the hood?" I stared at him. He grinned. I walked away without a word. The next morning, I watched it happen. A soft chime, followed by a ripple of heads turning toward their screens. I looked around, everybody's faces locked up, reading something at the same time. Then I heard someone whisper, "Oh, damn. Company-wide reorg email. Subject line, exciting changes for engineering and infrastructure." I didn't get it. I opened my inbox. Nothing. I checked the internal comms tool. Nothing. I stood there and watched people read about my erasure. 10 minutes later, the project dashboard started updating. My name disappeared from 4 of them, then 5, then all of them. Tasks reassigned, ownership fields blank. The infrastructure monitoring board, which I built from scratch, now showed TBD, where my name used to be. I walked over to DevOps, asked about a ticket I'd opened last week. The guy blinked at me like I was a stranger. "Oh, I think Brent's handling that now." Brent, who still didn't understand DNS, was now handling security flags on the production pipeline. I went to my manager's office. Door closed. Knocked once, no answer. Knocked again. Nothing. HR? "Oh, sorry, the person you need is out today." Everyone was suddenly out, or busy, or not sure what the plan is. Back at my desk, Brent had apparently made himself at home. My whiteboard was wiped, my Post-its in the trash. He'd moved the monitor so it faced away from the aisle. I guess he didn't want people seeing how often he was Googling. "You cool if I switch this to dark mode?" he asked, like he wasn't already typing. I didn't answer, just sat down in the chair across from him and stared. He tapped away, oblivious. "Also, real quick, what's that command you use to pull legacy logs from the cache server? The one with the janky drive?" I didn't move. He looked up. "Is it in the runbook?" I stood, walked over, and pulled my old runbook from the shelf, dropped it on the desk beside him. "You'll need this," I said. Then I grabbed the backup USB I kept taped under the drawer, dropped it in my pocket, and walked out without another word. Let them try to find the system map now. I went home that night and poured 3 fingers of bourbon into a coffee mug. Didn't even bother with ice. I sat at the kitchen table, stared at the wall for a full minute, then opened my laptop and clicked into a folder I hadn't touched since last year. I called it ARC because I knew the flood was coming and I didn't plan on drowning with the rest of them. The first thing I pulled was an email from 2 months ago. Clay forwarding my patch notes to the executive team and adding, "I pushed a fix this morning. No more API drops." Right. He hadn't touched a command line since 2014. I dumped it into the folder. Next, Slack threads. Took me less than an hour to find 3 different moments where Brent straight up admitted he didn't know how containers worked. One message said, "Not gonna lie, I still don't get why we need reverse proxies, LOL." That one made me laugh out loud. Not a good laugh, more like a bark. I saved screenshots, full context, timestamps. Then I went into the server logs. Dozens of entries. Hundreds, actually. All of them with my user tag. Patches, fixes, deployments. From middle-of-the-night rebuilds to hotfixes I pushed while sitting in traffic. Brent's name? Nowhere. I kept pulling receipts until the bourbon ran out. Then I opened my physical file cabinet and found what I was really looking for. The original employment contract. 4 pages, mostly boilerplate. But there it was. Clause 14. Termination of employment must be documented in writing within 72 hours. Or, all severance terms default to full payout. I checked the calendar. Day 5. No email, no letter, no formal meeting, no explanation. Just ghosted. Like they thought making me feel fired was the same thing as doing it legally. It wasn't. It was an unforced error. The kind that only happens when leadership is cocky and lazy at the same time. I shut the contract, went back to my desk, and fired up a separate laptop. Mine, not company issued. I wasn't done at Synthrex yet, but I sure as hell wasn't betting my future on them anymore. By morning, I was back at my desk, like nothing changed. Brent was already there, chewing the cap off a pen, staring at his screen like it had personally insulted him. "Hey, real quick," he said, not even looking up. "When a server goes into degraded mode, how do you know if it's actually hardware or just a service hang?" I answered him, because I was still technically employed, still getting paid, still bound to support the team. But I also opened a blank document on my own screen and titled it Fennel V1. It was just a name, meant nothing yet, but it felt like something new, clean, mine. Every time Brent asked a question, I answered, but I also logged it. Time, date, what he didn't know, what I had to explain, documented it all. I updated the ARC folder every night. Call logs, Slack threads, meeting notes, even the offhand comment Clay made in the hallway. "We're trying not to make waves, keep things clean on paper." They thought I was defeated. I wasn't. I was prepping. They thought they'd erased me. All they did was free up my evenings, and I was done wasting them. Day 6 rolled around, and the silence got louder. No paperwork, no meetings. Just Brent asking if DNS still mattered in the cloud. Around 2 that afternoon, my phone buzzed. Unknown number, HR. "Hi, Marcus," the voice said, sweet, brittle. "Sorry for the delay. Looks like there's just been a clerical mix-up with your offboarding documents. We'll get that sorted shortly." I let her talk. She threw in words like oversight, appreciation, and transition support, all wrapped in that fake warmth HR keeps in a drawer for days like this. When she stopped, I asked one thing. "So, just to confirm, you're saying I'm terminated?" A pause. Then, "Oh, I wouldn't use that word yet." "Yet," I repeated. "Right. We'll have something in writing soon." I hung up before she could soften it with another, "Thank you for your patience." That's when I called Raphael. A friend of a friend had mentioned him, a lawyer in Durham who handles messy exits. His voice was gravel and calm, like a man who'd heard every excuse in corporate America and stopped being impressed decades ago. "Send me everything," he said. "Contract, logs, emails, screenshots. Don't edit, don't format. Just dump it." I did. Within an hour, my inbox had 30 attachments flying out. Every lie, every stolen credit, every timestamp that proved they were still pretending I didn't exist. 2 hours later, he called back. "All right, Marcus," he said. "Here's the thing. You remember Clause 14, the 72-hour notice requirement? Yeah. Well, they already blew that. But there's something better. North Carolina just passed a new statute, effective last quarter. If severance isn't delivered within 7 calendar days of termination, any non-compete tied to that employment becomes void." I sat back, let that sink in. "You're serious, dead serious." And by my count, they're on day 8 tomorrow. I could hear him flipping pages, calm as a surgeon. "So here's what you're going to do," he said. "Don't reach out. Don't mention this law. Don't even breathe about it. Let them come to you. When they finally send that package, because they will, you forward it to me immediately. Then we file notice of non-compliance and void their claim." "What happens then?" I asked. He chuckled. "Then you're free, Marcus. No leash, no muzzle. You can build whatever the hell you want." That hit harder than I expected. For the first time in weeks, I felt air in my lungs again. So I waited. Day 7 came and went. Brent was still hovering, still asking questions he could have Googled, still acting like we were some kind of team. HR stayed quiet. Clay didn't look at me once. I kept my head down, finished the tickets they left me, and watched the clock. By day 8, I stopped pretending to care. At 4:42 p.m., my phone buzzed again. Email from HR. Subject, severance and transition materials. Marcus Hale. I opened it. 6 attachments. A bunch of bland legal PDFs and one fake friendly note. "We hope this package reflects our appreciation for your years of service." They thought they'd just checked a box. I forwarded it to Raphael with 2 words in the subject line. "Too late." Then I closed the laptop, poured another drink, and smiled for the first time all week. They had no idea they'd just handed me the key to my own freedom. 3 weeks later, I came home to a fat manila envelope sitting crooked in my mailbox. Synthrick's letterhead across the top. Urgent, stamped like a threat. I didn't open it right away. Just dropped it on the kitchen counter, poured a coffee, and stared at it like it was ticking. Then I tore it open. Cease and desist. Breach of non-compete. Formal accusation of unauthorized use of proprietary assets related to something called Project Fennel. I actually laughed. What they didn't know was that Fennel wasn't theirs. Not even close. Every line of code sat on my own hardware. No company laptop, no company VPN, no company anything. I built it at my dining room table, mostly after midnight, while they were busy pretending I didn't exist. I called Raphael. He picked up on the second ring, same calm gravel voice. "Morning, Marcus. They're coming for me," I said. "I saw it," he replied. "They CC'd me." Of course they did. I could hear papers rustling on his end. "Relax. They're bluffing. Typical corporate overreach. They want you scared enough to sign something dumb." I leaned against the counter, envelope in hand. "They're accusing me of stealing work I built from scratch. It's garbage." He sounded almost bored. "Then we'll treat it like garbage. Give me 48 hours. 48 turned into 36. When his reply went out, it was a masterpiece. 3 pages, cold surgical precision. He cited the state labor statute line by line, attached timestamps of my personal commits, screenshots of system logs proving I'd never logged in from the company machines after termination, and ended with one clean paragraph. Additionally, any attempt to enforce a non-compete agreement is void, given Synthrick's violation of the 7-day severance clause. Documentation attached. He seed the board. 2 days later, Silence, no calls, no follow-up, just quiet. That's when the cracks started showing. A friend still inside sent me a Slack screenshot. Executives whispering about containment and investor optics. Brent apparently had botched a deployment so badly they lost 2 clients in 48 hours. Investors wanted answers. The board wanted blood. Fennel, meanwhile, was humming. A small venture group I'd demoed to months ago, Covenant Ventures, emailed me back out of nowhere. "We saw your prototype," the message said. "Let's talk." I didn't even pitch. They offered seed funding on the first call. Word must have reached Synthrix fast because the next morning, another envelope arrived. This time, thicker. Clay had filed an official lawsuit. Breach of contract. Misappropriation of trade secrets. The works. He was betting on pressure. I read the whole thing twice, then called Raphael again. "He's lost it," I said. "No," Raphael replied. "He's desperate. That's different. Desperate men make mistakes." We filed our response within the week. No apologies, no fear, just paperwork, requests for full discovery. Every log, every email, every Slack thread, every executive memo from the last 6 months. I wanted the truth on paper. Raphael wanted them cornered. He said, "They think this is defense. It's not. This is a trap." Once severance cleared and the non-compete voided, I finally started building for real. While the legal gears started turning, I went back to work. Real work. Fennel was already an alpha. 2 developers I used to manage at Synthrix reached out quietly, asking if I needed help. They didn't even ask about pay. They just wanted to build something that actually worked. Every night, I coded until my hands cramped. Every morning, I woke up to another email from Raphael. Short updates, all good news. Synthrix was missing documents, fumbling responses, claiming things that didn't line up with their own timestamps. By week 2, their lawyers were already begging for delays. By week 3, I knew we'd won. They thought firing me would erase me. Instead, they'd documented every lie, every delay, every arrogant mistake in black and white. I didn't need revenge. I just needed patience. Clay was the one who blinked first. He always did. Deposition prep with Raphael felt like boot camp. He had this calm, clipped rhythm to everything, like every word was a loaded round. "Don't get emotional," he said. "Don't interrupt. Let them think they're in control. Then let them talk themselves into the hole." We sat in his office surrounded by paper towers, binders, receipts, email prints, Slack transcripts. The man was unflappable. He could have been dissecting a frog instead of prepping for a corporate kill shot. He walked me through their likely angles. Intellectual property theft, NDA violations, contract breach. Every one of them already dead in the water, but he wanted me sharp. "They're going to test you," he said, tapping the table. "Stay calm. Answer what's asked, nothing more. We want them comfortable before we pull the pin." The day of the deposition, I wore the same gray suit I'd used for job interviews a decade ago. It didn't fit right in the shoulders anymore. Didn't matter. I wasn't there to impress anyone. Synthrix had 4 people on their side, 2 lawyers, 1 HR rep, and Clay himself. He walked in like he still owned the room, still had that fake boardroom grin, though his eyes looked hollow. We started slow. Basic questions, employment dates, project scope, system access. Raphael didn't even look at me. He let the corporate lawyers do their little dance, all polite smiles and vague phrasing. Then the lead attorney flipped to his notes. "Mr. Hale, do you acknowledge that any software or prototypes created during your employment would fall under Synthrix's proprietary domain?" "Sure," I said, "during employment, but Fennel started after termination." He smirked. "That's debatable." Raphael leaned forward, finally speaking. "Would you like to verify the termination date, counselor?" The attorney shuffled papers. "We have internal notes." "Internal notes aren't legal documents," Raphael cut in, calm but sharp. "You issued severance on day 8. That's after termination by statute." Clay's jaw tightened. Raphael didn't even look at him. He reached into the binder beside him, slid a document across the table. Exhibit 17, email thread from Synthrix HR. Dated the 5th business day post-termination. Note the phrasing, holding severance paperwork until Clay confirms timing. Clay shifted in his chair. Raphael flipped another page. "Exhibit 18, he said, his tone unchanged. Internal Slack logs, time-stamped the same morning. From Clay to HR. Hold the severance packet just in case we need leverage." Silence. The opposing counsel blinked. "Excuse me, where did you obtain?" "Discovery," Raphael said simply. "Your office produced it." He leaned back, crossed one leg over the other, like he was settling into a TV show. The HR rep's face drained of color. Clay was frozen, fingers locked around his pen. Raphael let the silence stretch. Then he said, almost gently, "For the record, this directly violates North Carolina labor statute per 95 at the 25.7. By delaying payment, Synthrix invalidated all restrictive covenants, including non-competes." Page 18 hit like a bomb going off in a library. The other side exchanged quick looks, whispered. Then the lead attorney muttered something about a short break. They all stood up, chairs scraping, papers half folded, and rushed out of the room. Clay was last to go. He didn't even look at me. His face had gone slack, eyes darting like a man replaying every mistake that led him there. Raphael stayed seated, didn't smile, didn't gloat, just leaned back and checked his watch. "They'll be gone a while," he said, "long enough for someone to start yelling upstairs." I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. For the first time since the whole mess began, I realized I didn't have to fight anymore. They were tearing themselves apart without me lifting a finger. When the door finally opened again 20 minutes later, only one lawyer came back. No Clay, no HR. The guy cleared his throat and said, "We'd like to propose a dismissal with prejudice." Raphael nodded once. "That'll do." We packed our papers, walked out into the hallway, and didn't say a word until we hit the parking lot. He stopped beside his car, gave me a look that said everything. "Told you they'd trip over their own timeline." I laughed once. Short, hard. "You were right." He started his engine. "I usually am." The next morning, I got the official notice in my inbox. Case dismissed with prejudice. They couldn't touch me again. Not now, not ever. And just like that, Synthrix, the company I'd kept alive for 7 years, finally collapsed under the weight of its own arrogance. I was finishing lunch when the first text hit. Just a link and 3 champagne emojis. 10 minutes later, another, then 5 more. I clicked through and saw the headline, "Synthrix exec, deliberately delayed severance to dodge legal exposure, leaked emails show." Right below it, my old Slack screenshots. Clay's name, HR's name. The whole thread, word for word. The article didn't pull punches. It laid out the timeline, the contract clause, the state law they broke, called it strategic delay with intent to limit liability, called it illegal, and just like that, the dam broke. Every tech news outlet picked it up within hours. Twitter melted down, LinkedIn lit up. The comment sections turned into feeding frenzies. Executives from other companies jumped in pretending to be shocked, like they hadn't pulled the same stunt with someone else a year ago. Then came the investors. Someone leaked internal comms, board emails, investor threads. Clay's name was getting dragged through glass. One VC literally wrote, "Why is this guy still making decisions?" I checked Synthrix's site. His name was gone from the executive calendar. I checked again 2 hours later. Now it said, "Clay Anderson has stepped away to focus on his health and family." Sure, health. My phone didn't stop buzzing. Former co-workers were texting screenshots of Clay's LinkedIn profile being edited in real time. Title changed to former CTO. He turned off comments. Guess he's hiring a crisis PR team. I didn't celebrate, didn't post, didn't drop hints or cryptic one-liners. I just sat on my balcony, coffee in hand, and let the noise roll past. Let them say whatever they wanted. I'd already said everything I needed to, on paper, under oath, and on time. At 8:12 p.m., an email came in. Last to subject. Next steps. Fennel, Bastas, Covenant Body. Marcus, we've been following Fennel's progress closely. Congratulations on the dismissal. That kind of resilience and the product you've built speak for themselves. Let's talk. Covenant Ventures. I stared at that line. We've been following longer than I meant to. That folder I'd opened in panic, the one I called Arc when I thought I was sinking, that folder saved me, and now it was time to clean it up. I opened it one last time, deleted every useless scrap, every Slack file, every complaint, every memo that reminded me how small they tried to make me feel. What was left was clean. Architecture maps, code commits, investor notes, product demos, feature plans. I renamed the folder Fennel Covenant Next. This wasn't revenge. I didn't need revenge. That required looking back. I was already looking forward, because this time, I wasn't surviving. I was building. Launch day didn't feel like a climax. There was no champagne, no speeches, no one shouting "we did it" like in some startup movie. Just clean code, quiet clicks, and 4 new clients onboarded in 12 hours. No one missed a single deploy. No downtime, no drama. I walked into our new office that morning. 2nd floor, downtown Raleigh, glass front, real sunlight pouring in for once. Not the flicker of server room fluorescence. The walls were white. The floors didn't creak. My name was on the office door in black letters. Marcus Hale. No title under it. Didn't need one. Everyone inside already knew who ran the room. I dropped my bag in the corner, logged in, checked the uptime dashboard. Solid green across the board. No pings, no fires, just systems doing what they were supposed to do. That's when someone forwarded me a link. Clay's latest LinkedIn post. Sometimes, the best leaders are the ones who learn from mistakes. Growth isn't linear. It's a journey. The comment section ate him alive. Dozens of ex-employees, screenshots, snark. Even a few investors chimed in, politely dancing around the fact that he torched a company to protect his ego. I didn't bother reading it. I had a podcast interview that afternoon, one of those founder spotlight deals where they want a soundbite in a war story. The host leaned in, grinning through the mic. "So Marcus," he said, "do you ever regret leaving Synthrex?" I didn't even pause. "I didn't leave," I said. "They released me. It landed hard. People laughed. The host cracked up. But I wasn't joking. That legal screw-up, that tiny little delay, turned their leash into my ladder. After the recording wrapped, I shut the studio laptop, walked back to my desk, and opened a new doc. Next, build notes. No distractions, no drama, no Brent sipping energy drinks like he owned the place. No Clay trying to weaponize buzzwords he didn't understand. Just the work. The product was real now. The team was mine. The path forward was wide open.